So it seems there's been some progress made with regards to inking this trade deal between India and the EU. But one sticking point that comes to mind really is that of Russian crude oil. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, the EU has also sanctioned Indian petroleum exports because this is primarily built off of or built off of refined Russian crude that comes into India. It seems like it's very targeted towards some of these Russian crude imports that are coming to India that some say are actually fueling that war. Again, how big of a sticking point is this going to be? Because we've seen that it's been difficult for India to budge on weaning itself off of Russian crude because of how difficult it is.
Yes, certainly. So a couple of things have to be kept in mind. First of all, India has been buying Russian crude oil well within the global price cap. The global price cap has been set by the West, in fact. So it's not actually flouting any global conventions in its purchase of Russian crude oil. Second, India is a major energy importer and requires that energy should be purchased competitively for its fiscal, its balance of payments needs, its inflation needs. Obviously, that is a very important thing for India to secure. So, which is the reason why India is kind of being so intransigent on giving up on Russian crude oil purchases. And these refined petroleum products from the crude oil that is purchased from Russia is actually going, a lot of it is going to the US and the EU. So while I don't really think that this is going to be kind of a leading point in negotiations, because I think by now it's very clear to many countries, especially the US and the EU, that India will not give up on these Russian crude oil purchases, even though it may maybe reduce the quantity a little bit, but certainly India is not moving away from Russia in any meaningful amount, at least in the near future. So definitely, I think they're going to sort of cast that issue aside when they're working out the trade deal. But where that issue may actually come up is because the FTA needs ratification in the European Parliament. Now, if that is an issue with the broader EU, then that means that beyond the trade negotiators and their talks, this is something that could potentially build resistance against the FTA in the EU Parliament. That will, of course, need to be seen, and it all depends again on the extent of disruption to global trade by that point of time. But I don't think in the negotiations, at least, this is going to be kind of a breaking point, or that the EU is going to kind of want to follow what things the US President Donald Trump wants the EU to do. So I think that that's really very unlikely.